Welcome to the Geek Easy, fellow geeks. Let's open a beverage of your choice because today is Friday. You know what that means. It's time for another edition of Frightful Fridays. Sorry, I'm a little late on this. There's a little bit of a mix-up on stuff, and I usually have them recorded and set up for release earlier than this, but there's a little bit of a mix-up, so I had to finish watching it this morning. But today's movie, Friday the 13th, Part 6. Last week, on Friday the 13th, I watched Friday the 13th, Part 5, which is a movie that I hadn't seen. I think I've seen, 1 through 4. Because I have a collection over here. It was the first 4 of them. And watched it. And you can see my review. I think it's on the playlist. And from what I had been told by a friend of mine, what happens in part 5, part 6, this one, Jason Lives, they reboot the series and reboot the last movie. So if you watched part 5 was a continuation of part 4. Part 4, you had a young Corey Feldman, sorry, who wound up being the one that killed Jason. And so this one, it jumps a few years, has him in a, kind of an institution, and they send him to a camp in order to help him heal. And this camp winds up being, drawing a copycat of Jason, and he's going nuts, and then he winds up becoming Jason. I think what they were planning on doing was not actually having Jason be Jason anymore and have other people become Jason, and didn't go over well. So what they decided to do with this one is just take part 5, redo part 5. So they still have Tommy in this one, played by a different guy, and put him in a different situation and actually have Jason come back. So he is, in at the beginning of this one, he and a friend from the institution he was in escape, and they want to go and check to see if Jason's still dead. He needs that for closure. And this friend is the friend from Welcome Back, Kotter. Ooh, Mr. Kotter. That guy. I don't know if many of you are old enough to know who that is, but either way. And they go and get Jason's grave, dig him up, check on he's alive, see if he's actually there. And lightning brings him back to life. So this is, 1, we have Jason back. 2, we have a kind of a supernatural Jason that goes from 6 on, where he's, indestructible, I guess. And so from then on, you have him trying to convince the sheriff. He has to go into the near town and convince the sheriff that Jason's still alive, which doesn't go over well. And then you have Jason making his way back to Camp Crystal Lake, which is renamed because people don't want the people of the town are like, yeah, we don't want to live with this stigma. We're gonna rename this area so people will come. And then you have some counselors at this with some new kids. So the rest of this movie is, Tommy trying to deal with the, movie typical sheriff who doesn't believe anything is going on despite the mounting evidence. Bodies throwing up, being massacred and all that. You have the counselors there with kids doing camp counselor stuff, which incurs the wrath of Jason. And then you have Tommy and the sheriff's daughter trying to stop Jason. And this one was, despite it being, Jason being kind of the supernatural killing machine, it seemed a little bit kind of grounded in a sense. I don't know if that actually makes any sense. There's it shows how Jason gets to from there. He walks and there's not any of these super over the top situations, and it's just people are actually doing stuff that they do, and then they just have to be they're unfortunate enough to be in the way of Jason in his going back to where he goes. You have to have a few movie conceits that the sheriff is going to be a complete and total asshole and just not believe anything and try to be this belligerent jerk who wants to lock the guy up, for existing. That's a given. You have to have that in these movies. That's part of it. But that still doesn't, alter the fact that things kind of make sense the way that this one works. The way things work in this one actually make a bit of sense. It's not like you're sitting there going, why are these people doing this? If they're in this situation, why would they be doing this? Jason's a legend. They don't know the stuff's going on. They've heard of him, and they're like, okay. They don't know there's any killings going on, so they're just doing this. You got, boy and a girl out there, boning. And none of the other people know that they got it. So it's not people acting all stupid and stuff. They're just unaware of things. And one thing that I love, there's these couple little reoccurring smaller roles, and they're like there's a little girl who's one of the campers who is having dreams about the stuff, and then keeps seeing Jason, and he never does anything to her because she's a little kid. He doesn't do that stuff. But then there's these two boys who are interacting with the counselors, and couples, just little smart aleck kids, and you see them every once in a while. They pop up, and they're like, oh yeah, we're dead. We are so dead. And then one line later on in the movie one of them asks the other kid, goes, "So, what did you want to be when you grew up?" Which was a great line. And, things work out, so they get to the confrontation with Jason. And that, even in and of itself, wasn't even super over the top. I mean, one thing that seemed a little just stupid, and not with the not in the situation. This is not a normal life situation. It's cool, but you have the sheriff, and he comes across Jason, and he shoots him like 4 times with a shotgun, and he just keeps getting up. And and when I say grounded, I mean for the situation that we're doing. And he finally, when the shotgun doesn't work anymore, he's just like, "Oh, let me get my revolver." It's like, dude, this guy just took 4 shotgun shots to the chest. That revolver is not going to work there, sunshine. I think that's the time when you turn around and you get the fuck out. Yeah. But I was just kind of laughing about that, going, yeah, no. Just go the other way. You've already fucked around. You don't want to find out. Leave. But this was actually a good one. Not that any of the other ones were bad, but this was definitely better than the last one. More kills. But of course, they did break one of the rules that you have to have for a slasher movie. There was no feast for the eyes, if you understand what I'm getting. There's 2 things you have to have in these horror movies. Good kills, which this one pretty much had, and a lot of skin. There wasn't any skin in this one. It's like, dude, you have 2 jobs. You only did half of it. Come on. All or nothing, folks. Sorry. All or nothing. They went halfway, but, if that's the worst that happened with this movie, I'm good. So, they've rebooted the series, and they rebooted the last movie and rebooted the series, put it back on track with Jason still alive to go forward. And you also find out one thing, that you cannot try and bribe a psycho slasher serial killer with $40 in an American Express card. That doesn't work. You're still gonna wind up with machetes put into your body. So if you're ever in that situation, maybe use more than $40, and if you're going to use an American Express card, use an American Express Black as opposed to green, because $40 an American Express green card doesn't work. Little piece of advice for you. Anyway, so I'm going to give this, let's say a 4.25 out of 5. And say, yes, this is better than the last one. And kind of recommend it. And that's, that is if you are a fan of this type of stuff. I know some people aren't, but then again, you probably wouldn't be watching a channel that reviews horror movies either. So, what can I say? So, all right. In the comments below, let me know if you saw it, what you thought of it, what you thought of my review on it, and like, subscribe, possibly share, most of all. Enjoy your horror movies.